Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Create Smarter podcast. I'm your host, David Montero, and I'm here with a very special guest today, Evan Massoud. Welcome in. He is a guest of mine, a friend and a colleague. He's from FredTV, Fall River Educational Television. He's a sports producer. He has worked thousands of FredTV games. He's worked lots of games for Fall River Sports. He knows his stuff, and he's really been doing this for a while. He's one of the best. How you doing, Evan? How you doing today?
Great, David. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for being here, man. It's an honor. And I mean, we've done so many games together. It's so cool to actually sit down and talk about the stuff that we've done. But with that being said, I mean, I love the background. I love the preparation you kind of put into this in the FredTV studio, man. It's really special. So talking about preparation, tell me a little bit about your preparation for a game. Right, you're going into a big high school basketball game. What is your process like before a game, just getting ready to give that broadcast?
Well, like prep is everything. And, it's interesting that I actually had a chance to do a bit of a workshop on this last August with one of our sister channels from another community and their crew. And it really, breaking down kind of an outline of what to do, it truly comes down to prep and prep alone. Once you hit record or you click live and the game starts, if you don't have your prep done, you're kind of up the creek without a paddle. So the prep part of it is really the biggest thing. Once the game gets going, it just flows. You're calling live action, so you're calling what's happening. But without the prep in advance, there's so many facets that you wouldn't know about for the things that are coming into the game. So I really believe that prep, especially if you're the one talking, if you're the one being the broadcaster like myself, that's the biggest aspect of any live broadcast.
100%. I totally agree. Even today, just getting ready for this, setting up my backdrop, getting the Durfee D hat going here today, had to...
Same.
And so, obviously you've done so many live productions, produced so many live sports. How did you get into live video production? What got you passionate about this?
Well, I went through FredTV's program at Durfee when I was a student. So I graduated back in 2007, went to Fitchburg State, and really, as great as college was, there were so many basics that I learned here, because really, if you go back, 16, 17 years ago, a lot of high schools didn't have state-of-the-art production studios and video production classes. We're the public education access and government access for the city of Fall River, and we're inside the school. It's a little different than most. A lot of the new schools have brand new studios and they're trying to create their own network of programming for in-house, but to be like the Comcast, two of the Comcast PEG channels in the city and be in the school, it adds a different element. So, as a student, I did a lot, went to college, honed in on those skills. And then my internship with Channel 12 really finalized everything. I learned so much in six months working full time for them for free at that internship. I got to go to opening day with the Red Sox against the Yankees. They lost. I went to Bruins playoff practice when they were going to the Stanley Cup in 2011. Celtics practice at their old facility in Waltham, Patriots preseason opener. I got to see really like the big four among a ton of other things. And then since then I've been here last 10 years going on 11. So, it's so much fun knowing that you're the voice that people are listening to. People tune in, they want to see a game. Well, you're the one that they're hearing. So you got to give them something good to listen to. And the thing that I always try to do is to keep it light, keep it fun. And that's something that I learned from listening to Don Orsillo and Jerry Remy on Nesson, when the two of them were in the booth calling Red Sox games. That's where I really started to love the broadcasting side of things and have an appreciation for it.
Yeah, keep it light, keep it fun. I like that.
Yeah. Sports are fun. Sports are not serious. Save the serious for the city meetings. You know what I mean?
It's exactly right. Well, totally right. And so you and I both know as the times move on, live production is always changing. try to switch gears here. Tell me a little bit about a new aspect of live production, OBS. You work with that, right? Tell me a little bit about OBS, how that works, and how it helps you provide a good broadcast for your audience.
Well, OBS saved us during COVID, honestly. Before COVID, we really weren't live streaming games. We were still doing the live to tape thing. There was editing involved, and it was just the nature of it. We just really hadn't gone down that road yet. But during the pandemic, that fall 2020, when we came back to school, fans, spectators, parents were not allowed. Even outdoors, they weren't allowed. So we figured out a way to do it. And, OBS is like a mobile switcher. It's unbelievable. And I think what's more unbelievable about it is that it's still free. I hope none of them are watching. I can't believe that they have not started charging to use, the software, the application. I'd say probably the best thing about it is the ability to do live graphics. Like right at that time, there's a plugin for your scoreboard that you can put text files right over your built graphics and then control those, like I said, with a little plugin. So for volleyball and basketball, especially where the sport is constantly changing, it's so valuable. I mean, it's just that stuff we'd have to do in editing later. And I'd say the other thing is the ability to record natively. So it will record everything you're doing, including the graphics. If you take a break and cut to a different, to a PSA or something because you need a timeout or halftime, everything you do in OBS will record natively to the computer pre-stream. So if you lose internet or Facebook crashes or YouTube has an issue or whatever, you can still use the computer to record. And as soon as you're done, as soon as you stop recording, it's a video file that you can throw right on YouTube and upload. There's no editing. So that's a huge thing. For the extra half hour, 45 minutes of, on location prep that we do pre-game, I'm saving 2.5 to 3 hours from the editing side of things. So it's really made it so much easier to do more. We're averaging over 24, even sometimes close to 30 games a season now. And that's just between two schools. So that's a lot of sports in a 2-month period.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's funny. I'm actually using OBS right now as a backup computer. So, there are a lot of uses, and I totally agree with her. How it's changed the game, and hopefully they're not watching, like you said, because that would be very bad if they started charging.
I know, right?
And we always say in video production, what can go wrong will go wrong. And I want to ask you, what's some tips for somebody that might need to troubleshoot during a live production? I mean, you're on your feet, things, are live, things could be going wrong. What's some advice that you would give?
Well, I think knowing your environment is a big one. We do mostly Durfee games. I'd say maybe 2/3 to 3/4 Durfee games, and then we mix in some games from Diamond, which is the Voc Tech school here in Fall River. And because they're always great. They love when we come for coverage. So we've seen some great stuff over there. But each location poses some challenges. Here at the field house at Durfee, with the renovations, we have high-speed business class Wi-Fi, and we can stream it like the highest bit rate, and it's fantastic. But over at Diamond, they don't have a strong Wi-Fi network in terms of a guest network, and they will not allow outsiders to connect internally, which makes sense. So I have to use a hotspot. So now I'm relying on T-Mobile and 5G to get me through a broadcast, and it's been very stable. It's been better than Verizon. The hotspot that we did have previously. So, I think that's a big one, is knowing your environment, knowing what challenges and what to expect where you're going. Baseball and softball is probably the most difficult situation because most don't have proper press booths and coverage for you. So you're usually just sitting out in the elements. As you probably recall from last spring's playoff games, we were all over the South Coast here and North Shore, and we had so many different variables and running 200-foot extensions just so we have power, but you get it done. Part of it is the communication, and part of it comes into the prep side of things. If I go on the road just for playoffs, I'm going somewhere I probably haven't been before or haven't been in a while. So I always contact that athletic director a day before and say, hey, just a heads up, we're coming. And that's another thing. Be direct. Tell them that you're coming to the game. Don't say, we're planning to, we're looking to. No, we're coming. We're doing the broadcast. So I need some space. I need some accommodations. Anything that you can do to help us, we'd appreciate it. Here's what we need. You got to be direct about it. And that, again, falls into the prep side of things as well. So I think troubleshooting, prep, knowing your environment, knowing your gear, your software, like understanding OBS. When you're at home, you have downtime at the office. If you're not sure of something, go into that app, tinker out it, look at the settings, see everything, try to understand the inner workings of it. So when something does go wrong, you can click, click, click and say, it's probably this. And then look and say, oh, I was right. It is this. Let's fix it. Harder when it's a smaller crew. Obviously, if you have a whole crew in a control room, someone's floating. They could run out to a booth or into the gym or whatever. But, we do a little bit smaller of an operation, which allows us to do more content because we're not relying on, 6 to 7 people to be there for a production. So by doing it a little more stripped down, we can get more content, which I think is, the most important thing. So a lot of the troubleshooting goes on me. And that can be challenging when you're in the middle of calling a live game as well. But luckily, that's rarely happened. We've been very stable and very lucky with the live streaming. Very few hiccups in the last 3 years.
Nice. Hope you guys at home are taking notes right now. These are some nice bits of advice right here. Well, Evan, thank you so much. It's been great to have you. I have one more question.
Sure.
Tell me about your favorite part of live video production.
Well, I think, it's the unknown. You can't, this is why sports talk radio exists, because it's all talk. You don't know until you actually play the game out what the result's going to be, but you can speculate like crazy. And you can have now this, betting on games and whatnot here in the state, legalized gambling. So, it's like, it all comes into that. It's the stuff in advance that's so exciting because people talk. And then all of a sudden, then you get there and you play the game out. And that's where I come in. So now I get to see exactly what's happening. And we bring in those speculations to the live broadcasts, but only to an extent. Because once that first quarter is done, say, or if it's, if you're playing halves like soccer, first 20 minutes or so, you can really usually get a feel of where the game is going. And that's probably the best part, is getting over that first little bump, feeling out the broadcast at the beginning, getting over that little bump at the beginning. Then you start kind of feeling out where the broadcast is going, where the game is heading and the direction of that game. And it helps, it kind of smooths things out as you keep going, throughout the game. I've seen some great moments in Little Fall River. We're not a big city. But there's a rich sports history here. In 10 years, my first full year here, I got to see a state championship for boys basketball. Bishop Conley High School, their boys won the state championship for Division IV at TD Garden, and we were courtside on the floor filming and broadcasting. Doesn't get much better than that. And I'd say the other stuff too, like, we see milestones. Last year we had 2 1,000 point scorers at Durfee, one on the boys side, one on the girls' side for basketball. We've seen a lot of milestones, a lot of individual accomplishments. We just had a female swimmer, Rachel Silva, won state. She's a sophomore. She's a state champion. That happened about a week and a half ago. It's unbelievable. So, those are the things that, you see these all-star players once in a while, and it's hard to predict. Again, you don't know until things play out. They could get a season-ending injury, and there goes any chance of a milestone. So you keep your fingers crossed for those kids, and that's another great aspect of the live and covering the sports and being there regularly as you see progression. So all that combined into one, it makes live so exciting.
I definitely agree with that, and you and I both have both broadcasted some amazing games and seen some amazing performances. So it's really. There's a lot coming out of Little Fall River, that's for sure. Well, Evan, thank you for your time, man. It's been great to talk to you and great to learn a couple things and hear about your experiences with your career and just live video production, sports broadcasting. So I want to thank you, Evan, for coming on with me, and hope to see you soon, buddy.
Thanks again, David. It's great to be on.
For sure. For Evan and for David Montero, this has been the Create Smarter podcast.